Hey, dear Tyler, how are you doing? Hope your day is, or your, rather, hope your day really went well. Um, I took out today to rest. No, I really needed the rest. I had quite a busy day yesterday. We'll talk about it at another time. Um, but this is me because I remember I promised that I was going to give you another episode today to cover up for the last two. Or rather to cover up for last week's episode. So I was just like gleaning through memory lane, and I was just trying to figure out, okay, what I could actually share. And I was like, okay, why not I share my cooking stories, um, the Chronicles of a Chef. These are my diary sessions and Chronicles of a Chef. So I I felt like it would be really good to just share some of my cooking stories. I hope they'll be hilarious because if you don't laugh, then it's not gonna be good. But anyway, so this is it. So the first time I can remember ever trying to cook anything was uh, frying egg. Right. So the first time I ever fried egg, uh, I, I did it. I did it together with one of my aunts, and the first egg I fried, it wasn't bad, but I I forgot to put salt in the egg, which I know for some people um, is not bad like that. So the first experience was not too bad. So I was like, okay, let me try it again. This time I put the salt, I put the Maggi, put the whole seasoning, everything, and I put the poured the egg into the pan, and I was wondering why it wasn't frying. It was like literally burning. It was like a very very crazy. Um, it was really really just mind blowing. I was wondering what was wrong, and I realized that um, I didn't put oil in the pan. So I know that experience really really got to me, and I was like, I know I'm not even trying the whole cooking thing again. Um, the first time I ever cut onions, I cut my hand. Like I literally sliced my hand. So I think for me up to now I can't cut like stuff, any ingredient, food, be it carrot, be it yam, be it potatoes. Okay, no, potatoes I can, but onions, cabbage, carrots or anything, I can't cut it without the chopping board. So the imprint, like I slashed my hand, so holding the onion, I just slashed it straight like that, and I was bleeding. I remember my aunt like that. She just looked at me. She just picked up the onions and then just cut it into like four pieces and told me I should go. I was dragging the whole. I was dragging the whole stuff. So I really, really didn't like engage in cooking, and also 100 level. First year in the university, I spent so much of my money buying coke and bread or eating out until I literally became, quarter to broke. And um, at that time, I knew that okay, parents had just sent me money recently, and I like squandered it and all. It wasn't going to be a very wise decision to, call my folks at home. And so I was like, okay, with the little money I had, I went over and I was like, okay, I'm going to cook. I'm just going to close my eyes and I'm going to cook. So I went to the market, I bought spaghetti, I bought tomatoes, I bought fish, smoked fish, pepper, oil, right? And quite a lot of things like that. So I went through a period of trying to remember certain things. So when people cook, I usually like observe a lot and see how they do it. So it was just me in the room that time, and we had this electric hot plate. So even like plugging it was or connecting it was really, really like hard because it used to spark, it used to blow. It was just a nightmare. But I had to do it. So I went. I was able to connect it, So because I knew I would like waste a whole lot of time, um, I just cut the tomatoes, cut the pepper. I just kind of like arranged everything like that I was going to cook it. I put the seasoning. Everything was just set. I had washed the fish, um, ready for it to be fried and all. So I remember that okay, you have to remove the starch from the spaghetti. So I did that. So naturally in my mind, I was like, I could finish one spaghetti alone. So I unleashed it, cut it, opened it up, and then I put the spaghetti, water, boiled it, removed the whole starch and all right. So it was now time for oh Father God. So it was now time for me to do the whole frying process again. So this is my diary session, and this is me being absolutely honest. I never knew that there was anything particularly important in the whole cooking thing. I just thought I didn't really like understand measurements. So I bought a bottle of oil and I poured half. I poured half of that bottle. And I remember Kim used to throw onions first. So I threw the onions and this thing was not it wasn't frying, like Mom's own. I was like, how far now? So I waited a bit. The pot was hot, but onion was not doing shh. And I was like, okay. I just threw the tomatoes, threw the pepper, everything. And so it got to a point where it was now doing some small trickles of sparks and all. But it wasn't like really boiling, like frying. So I just got fed up, and then I now poured the spaghetti inside and then put the fish and then covered the pot. And I was like, I'm done cooking. Now, I put the whole seasoning. Now, the funny thing is, it was really smelling good. So other people around my hostel, they perceived the aroma rather. And they were like, okay, Binga, when you're done cooking. First of all, they were like, thank God, Binga is even cooking today. And when they're done, they're like, Binga, when you're done cooking, need to eat out of dish of food. It was smelling really nice. So I went and I was like, okay, let me check the food. I opened the pot. And it was the oil. I saw plenty oil. I was like, isn't like oil meant to be sucked in, or what's going on? And then I carried the spoon, and then I kind of like turned the spaghetti, and I realized that like half of my spaghetti was already burning, but the oil was so much. I was so confused. I didn't know what to do, so I was like, okay, because the spaghetti was basically done already, overdone, and I removed it from the hot plate, and so I just decided to serve people, and I ate it. I was just apologizing. So I served like 3 guys. They finished the spaghetti, but then they brought back my oil for me. So lesson learned that the quantity of oil actually matters. You don't pour as if you're frying a full cow. But I had to learn that painfully. So like half of my spaghetti got wasted. I was able to keep the remaining oil. And so the next day I was like, okay, I'm going to make jollof rice, right? I was going to make jollof rice. So I'd understood, okay, the oil part. So I got rice. Okay, I'd already bought rice the previous day. Now, I never knew about the whole concept of, rice swelling. I literally thought that the way it was in a cup was the way it would be after it was boiled and all. So because I'd wasted the tomatoes, the pepper, and everything in the previous cooking. I had to buy, and I was already low on cash, so I um I just got a little. Now, based on the cups, the based on my measurement of the rice, I was like, okay, this was going to be sufficient. So I started. I did the whole cooking. It was very good so far. Um, I cut everything, made sure that the oil was was moderate, right? So, but I noticed that while like boiling the rice was like trying to sip out of the pot, and I was like, okay, this wasn't the plan, this wasn't the agreement rice, but I can't waste the rice. So I had to transfer the rice into another pot, extremely, extremely large pot. Then, um, when I did the whole frying, fried the tomatoes, fried the pepper, did the whole seasoning thing, put my fish and all, and then I now put the rice on top of the on top of the oil. Now, or on top of everything that I had fried. It would have been a lot better if I had poured it on top, poured the whole frying stuff on top of the rice, you know, so that it would sip in properly. But somehow, when I was done, it's meant to be jollof rice. The rice came out very white. You just be seeing the red tomatoes around, and so I ate it and it was tasteless. This one I didn't invite anyone. It was tasteless, but I was like, what I'll just do is, buy, add little salt and then get yaji. There's local pepper and all, grounded pepper. And so I left my room, and then I covered the pot. Now, I think this was during rainy season or so. I can't really remember, but I covered it all, and I left for a very long time. Covered the whole pot. By the time I came back, my whole pot of rice had spoiled. The whole pot of rice had spoiled. It was heartbreaking. The amount of rice I had wasted. Everything had just gone sour. So I was like, oh God, this cooking thing is not just working for me. Somehow I reached out to home and they were able to send money again. But then this time I said I was going to try working on the whole cooking thing. And so I made rice this time. And it was so amazing. Rice and beans. I think beans was what changed the whole game for me. So rice and beans. And it was really nice. This one, somebody came over to my room. The guy was like, oh my God, Benga, your food is so nice. And in my head, I was like, this is my third time cooking alone. And so the third time is absolutely the charm for me. I now made the mistake of calling him again. This kind, like, I've done such a good job at cooking, so you can always come over to my place. Oh, I'm going to cook. Oh, Prince, I'm going to cook, so come over. So I invited him this time, and then I bought a seasoning that I swore never to buy again. Onga stew. My jollof rice came out looking red, and young man doesn't know how to be temperate in his observations. It's like, your food is too red. Yeah, well, it's like you didn't cook with your mind or something. Blah 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 blah. So that was like another experience, and so I realized that I wasn't so much of a fan of like vegetable oil, granite oil, and also I was like, okay, let me try using red oil, palm oil. And I didn't know that palm oil was very violent compared to granite oil. So I done everything, parboiled my rice, and I I had, put the oil to bleach on the fire, and then I was like taking my time to cut the onions. Now I've become a pro in cooking. So I was taking my time to cut the onions. The next thing, the pot just caught fire. I started panicking. I was like, my goodness, like what's going on? And I rushed and I got water and I poured it inside. I poured it inside the oil, and then it kind of like just died. I quickly covered the pot, and I was just freaking out. Like smoke filled the room, and I think from that day, I never like. It left this deep scar in me mentally. So whenever I'm doing anything with red oil now, so either I've prepared, made sure I've cut all the cuttables to put into the oil, and I make sure that I am so ready. I don't keep the oil on the fire for long. If I notice that it's bleaching too much, I just remove it from the fire and all. Then I think I'll share maybe like 3 more stories. Then my first time cooking with like fresh fish, right? So I'd parboiled it, done all the seasoning. I left it. I went to do something, and so I came back, and then the whole water had dried and I put pepper. Father Lord God, I put a whole lot of pepper, and because it had dried, instead of me just remove it from the stove, I just poured water. Hell, Lord of mercy, the whole room became like a furnace. It was like incense, fish everywhere. And then people in the hostel just started shouting, would they burn fish, would they cook fish, would they fry fish? People like 5 rooms after mine started coughing. Hell, I just came out there like, binga. And I was like, oh my god. The fish got burnt. But it's my fish. I still used it in my stew. And that was a lesson learned. Then my first time cooking soup, because I was like, if I'm having challenges with rice and all of these things, then the rest is really going to be bad. And so cooking soup, I was like, okay, let me just do the normal vegetable soup. Hausa we call it aleo. And so I went to the market and I said they should give me 200 naira aleo, spinach, right? Ha! Omo. Mama packed it inside one big yellow nylon like this. I was like, for crying out loud, what am I going to do with this? It now dawned on me that my mom used to buy like 100 naira on 150 for the family. Why am I buying 200 for me and my brother? So I went home and I now started cutting it. Oh Lord. I started like pulling out the leaves from the stalk, and then I started cutting. I was cutting. This thing didn't want to finish. I was cutting. This thing didn't want to finish. I tried to cut them very small. I got so fed up that I just pulled the leaves out, right? Gathered them together. Then started just tearing them, and then dumped them inside the pot. Then the spinach was still remaining like a lot. And so what I just did was I just fetched it, I threw it out and gave it to one goat, like that. I remember cooking it. It was so lovely, like appealing. It tasted good, nothing bad though. But then one of my friends saw it and said that it was looking like moi moi leaves. Like the leaves were really, really big. So these are some of like the stories that I've had. But I cook now, right? I cook at home. I cook for my siblings. I've cooked for my dad. I've cooked for my mom. I've made soup for people, and it they don't necessarily like talk ill of my food. They actually eat it, and I think they express more of shock that okay, so Binga, you can actually cook and all. So the reason why I share these stories, right? Hopefully it made you laugh, but then for us to, you know, the major reason was what I did with all of the mistakes that I made. There were lessons. I made sure that every mistake I made never happened again. Never happened again. So I didn't have the issue of the oil. I didn't have the issue of the food spoiling. All of those things that happened, they were very degrading to me. It was a very painful experience. I had to walk with shame for a whole lot of time. But I had learned, and I had made sure that whatever mistake I made, they were not just scars, but they were lessons for me. And whenever I cooked, I made sure that I didn't repeat those mistakes. Now, generally, that's how life should be, right? We're not perfect. We are in a learning process consistently in life. We're always learning. And the wisest thing to do is that whatever mistake you make, right, wherever you make a mistake, rather, it's very important that you, beyond, focusing on, the pain and the shame and all of that, no, look away from that and pick out the lesson. Why did it go wrong? What did you do that made it go wrong? And the moment that you're able to figure that out, right, make sure that you leave it as like a footnote or a footmark whenever you're doing anything, right? I'll share other stories of my musical experiences, things that just went extremely wrong, funny occurrences, but just generally, it's learn from mistakes, right? Learn from those mistakes. The people that laughed, the people that scorned, the people that criticized the cooking, eventually, in time, started eating. I would never call myself a chef. I'm not near it. I'm pretty terrible at it, but I believe that I could cook a meal that people would enjoy. I cooked for a lady friend of mine once, and her own friend came over and they were like, "Oh my God, Benga, you can cook." And I was like, "You guys don't look down on me and all, right?" So, but so Tyler, I know I've not even mentioned your name in a while, but Tyler, I want you to be, I want you to celebrate the mistakes that you make, right? At least you're making effort. You're taking those steps to do something tangible, to do something worthwhile, right? You're taking those steps. So I want you to celebrate them and learn from them, right? Don't dwell on them so long that it stops you from trying again, right? Pick up that stuff that was challenging, pick up that thing that seemingly mocked you, right? And then do it again. You will probably be a master chef. Only God knows, right? And maybe one day when we've set up the whole podcast stuff very well, I may do a live. No, I won't do a live video. That'll be too much. I'll probably do a cooking video. I'll just show myself cooking and all. But yeah, that's it. That's the little chronicles of the master chef here, right? So I hope you enjoyed it, right? Please do well to share, and remember, I love you and I'm always rooting for you, right? So take care, Tyler. Have an awesome